There's a moment, right before you admit something you can't take back, where time slows down. I'm sitting at the edge of the Section 7 pond, watching her run diagnostics for the 8th hour straight, and I realize I could leave. In 10 weeks, I could be back on Earth where the air smells like traffic and rain, instead of filtered chlorophyll. Where I don't have to watch someone I'm starting to care about drive herself into exhaustion, trying to fix something that can't be fixed the way she's trying to fix it. But if I leave, who's going to tell her that perfection isn't the same as survival? That sometimes the mess is the answer? And when did someone I'm starting to care about become the truest thing I've said in 6 months?
In the year 2135, 8 years into humanity's greatest experiment, the generation ship Kepler's Dream hangs in solar orbit, like a promise waiting to be kept. 1,000 souls have volunteered to spend their lives, and their children's lives, and their grandchildren's lives, testing whether humanity can truly leave Earth behind. The plan? 60 years of trials before the final decision to launch toward Proxima Centauri. 8 years in, they're still learning what that choice really means. The ship's massive cylinder turns slowly, creating gravity through rotation. Inside, multiple hectares of terraced gardens cascade down the curved walls. Rice paddies, fruit orchards, vegetable gardens, fish ponds. This is not a ship. This is an attempt at forever.
I've been aboard for 3 years. Long enough to stop looking for Earth through the observation ports. Long enough to call this home. My assignment, biological systems integration. Making sure 1,000 people can breathe, eat, and survive on what we grow. In Tokyo, I designed vertical farms. Here, I'm designing survival itself. The gardens are nearly complete. Another month and we activate full closed-loop operations. Everything recycled, nothing wasted. Perfect efficiency. That's when we'll know if this works.
My 2-year contract up here is coming to an end in less than a quarter. They needed someone who understands soil biology, someone who can troubleshoot when the pretty simulations meet actual dirt and water and living things. I want the best of the fire and fight. I'm good at my job. Fix the systems, train the crew, take the shuttle home. Except Earth doesn't feel like home anymore when you come back. Too loud, too many people, everything moving too fast. But this place feels like a very beautiful, very complicated machine that's gonna break the moment I leave. Which is exactly why I need to leave.
Day 1 of full CELSS activation. All 16 biozones bringing their aquaponics online simultaneously. This is the test. If the nitrogen cycle fails, if the bacterial balance goes wrong, we'll know in the first 72 hours. Hour 48. Section 7's reservoir is clouding. Not bacterial bloom. We've got filtration for that. Something else. The water chemistry is shifting wrong. Too fast. I run every diagnostic I have. The numbers don't make sense. By hour 63, more sections are showing early symptoms. We're supposed to be ready. We can't fail this test.
They call me at 0200. Emergency meeting. I walk in wearing yesterday's clothes. Soil still under my fingernails from working Section 12. The chief engineer is talking isolation protocols, system purges, emergency suppliers from Earth. The woman from Section 7, Tanaka, the systems lead. She's standing there with her tablet, showing perfect data that proves everything should be working. Except it's not working, and she's not looking at anyone, just the data. Like if she stares hard enough, the numbers will change.
We could isolate the affected sections, purge and restart with Earth-supplied backup cultures. I show them the projections, 3 weeks to source materials from Earth. Another month to rebuild the bacterial populations. The entire CELSS activation delayed by 2 months minimum. The reset cafe is called part sold. Or we could shut down the experiment entirely. Redesign. Start over. Prove that maybe we're not ready. Maybe we'll never be ready.
Or you could let me look at it. Everyone turns. The engineer, she looks at me like I'm a piece of equipment that's speaking out of turn. Your construction crew. This is a systems integration issue. I'm a soil biologist who spent 6 months installing your perfect systems. And I'm telling you, the problem isn't contamination. It's your design.
20 minutes later, they're walking Section 7 together. Orders from above. The systems engineer and the construction agronomist. Find the source. Fix it. Figure out if humanity's grand experiment just failed its first real test.
He's not looking at my diagnostic data, not checking the water chemistry panels. He's kneeling in the growing beds, pulling up water chestnut rhizomes, crushing leaves between his fingers. The sensor array is showing.
The sensors are showing what you programmed them to look for, but you're not looking for the right thing. I dig deeper into the root bed. The rhizomes should be white, firm. Instead, gray, mushy, dying. Your system is too efficient. I stand up, holding the evidence. You optimized for resource cycling. Nitrogen, phosphorus, perfect balance. But you optimized out the buffer zone. The mess. In Sao Paulo, we learned this the hard way. Monoculture farming, perfect efficiency. One disease, total collapse. You need inefficiency. You need redundancy. You need mess.
My training says this is unscientific. My pride says, don't listen to the contractor who's leaving in 3 months anyway. My fear says, what if he's right? What if 3 years of work is built on the wrong assumptions? Show me.
They work through the night. Yuki runs genetic sequences on the bacterial populations, tracking how the introduced species are outcompeting the engineered ones. Carlos traces the cascade through the ecosystem, mapping how a system designed for perfection has no resilience against the imperfect. By dawn, they found it. The system isn't failing because of contamination. It's failing because it's too perfect, too optimized, too fragile.
Hour 76. We present together. The problem is the design philosophy. You need to introduce 3 inefficient bacterial species. Add buffer zones with higher biodiversity. Accept that the system will be messier, less predictable. But it'll be robust. It'll survive.
And we can prevent this in the remaining sections by adjusting the initial seeding protocols. I pull up the revised projections. His intuition, my precision. The model works. It actually works better than the original design. We've been thinking about this wrong for 3 years.
Over the next 2 weeks, they work 18-hour days, revising protocols, retraining crews, adjusting all 16 biozones before the cascade failures spread. Section 7 becomes the proof of concept. The messy, imperfect, resilient system that works better than the perfect, optimized, fragile one.
I learned that mess can be engineered, that robust systems have intentional inefficiencies, that the contractor I dismissed as temporary knows things I never learned in Tokyo, that precision without flexibility is just brittleness. 2 weeks in, we're sitting at the edge of the Section 7 pond. The water is clearing. The fish are thriving. The plants are recovering. He's supposed to lead in 10 weeks.
Sitting here, watching this system stabilize, I realize something. Your ship is going to need someone who understands the mess, the imperfect. Someone who can troubleshoot when the simulations don't match reality. I don't think you have anyone like that in your permanent crew roster.
No, we don't. You're leaving in 10 weeks.
Saudade. In Portuguese, it means longing for something you can't name. I came up here thinking I'd fix the systems and go home. But Earth felt like home until I saw this place. Now Earth feels like the past. And this feels like... I don't know what this feels like.
In Japan, we have a word. Ma. The space between things. The emptiness that gives form to the whole. I spent 3 years illuminating Ma. Making everything optimal, compressed, perfect. You showed me I was eliminating resilience, eliminating possibility.
Ship launches in 52 years. If it launches. Long time to test whether humans can really do this. But you need to test it now. Whether the systems can handle someone like me. Someone from Earth who might stay.
I look at him then. Really look. See not the contractor who's leaving. Not the temporary specialist. But someone who sees what I can't see. Who knows what I don't know. Submit your transfer request. We'll see if the mission planners are ready for that kind of mess.
Intentional inefficiency? Yeah, I can work with that.
Carlos Mendes submitted his transfer request 3 days later. Mission planning approved it. He was the 3rd construction specialist to request permanent crew status, and they were starting to see the pattern. The ship needed people who understood that survival isn't the same as optimization. Yuki Tanaka and Carlos Mendes married 18 months later, in a ceremony that honored both Shinto precision and Catholic improvisation. Held at the edge of Section 7's pond, where contaminated water had first brought them together. Their daughter Kika was born 3 years later. She would grow up swimming in those same ponds, never knowing Earth except through internet friends and her parents' stories about cities that smelled like rain and gardens that grew in actual dirt. The CELSS they built together, messy, imperfect, resilient, became the template. Not just for Kepler's dream, but for every generation ship that followed. Engineers still call it the Mendes adjustment, though Carlos would laugh at the name. It's not an adjustment, he'd say. It's just remembering that life is messy. But here's what the technical manuals don't record. Sometimes the space between perfection and possibility is exactly wide enough for two people to find each other. Sometimes survival depends less on the system you build, and more on who you build it with. And sometimes, in the gap between what you planned and what actually works, love finds a way to grow.
Intentional inefficiency works every time.